Oh boy, breaking news. President Trump says Iran should have signed the deal. I told them to sign. What a shame. A waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran gonna have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate. All right. Oh boy.
Fox News alert. Donald Trump leaving the G7 early and returning to Washington, where he's requesting the National Security Council be prepared in the Situation Room after a deadly weekend in the Middle East. In Israel, 24 fatalities, 600 wounded. The death count even higher in Iran, 224 dead and counting. Iran retaliating by firing over 370 missiles at the Jewish state, but Israel's hitting back harder.
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey.
Why this beat so crazy?
We will make America proud again. And you try to we will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. We are praying for peace, man. I know y'all are seeing all these videos. I mean, man, I didn't think it was, man. And this clip right here, warning, disclaimer, man. Boy, we are praying for peace. Prayers for President Trump, this administration. Man, it's just. But you know that they left this man a complete mess. You know, he's inherited this complete mess, man. Here we are. We don't want to send any American soldiers to fight a war. Peace. We want peace. Peace through strength. Something to this, man. Boy, oh boy.
آنچه که ملاحظه کردید، صدایی که شنیدید، فضای غبارآلوده استودیو.
Tel Aviv is claiming full aerial superiority over Iranian airspace. They downed 2 Iranian fighter jets today after top Iranian military officials were taken out Friday. Israel says they've already destroyed 1/3 of Iran's missile launchers, and nuclear sites are getting pummeled so badly that residents are being warned of radiation spillage. The IDF is warning that Iran will pay the price, and they've scheduled this campaign to last 2 weeks. Their plan is to degrade the Iranian nuclear program and destroy their ballistic missile stockpiles. The mullahs are getting battered, and they don't have the military capacity to trade endless missile strikes with Israel. They need a breather and are crossing their fingers that we don't provide the bunker busters that could eliminate their nuke sites deep underground. So they're begging Trump to come back to the negotiation table, hoping that the U.S. doesn't get involved militarily and that Netanyahu will take his finger off the trigger. Trump signaling that he'd prefer a deal over death.
Have you heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah.
What have you heard? What have you heard from the Iranians?
They'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day, I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war, and they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
Democrats call Trump the taco president, a.k.a. Trump always chickens out. But he gave the Iranians a deadline for a deal, and they missed the deadline. So he let Netanyahu go at him. Now Iran's begging for mercy. And they're not going to get a good of a deal now. The whole world witnessed that. That sends a strong message everywhere, even on trade. Now Iran's lost leverage. They're at their weakest point in decades. Israel's neutralized their proxies, Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Assad in Syria. The Iranians don't have much of a navy. Their air force is ancient, and their army's sitting ducks if they cross the border on foot into Iraq. They can't project power. The only thing keeping the Ayatollah alive is his nuclear program, and he's clinging on to it so that he doesn't get Gaddafi'd. You remember Gaddafi? gave up his nuclear program, and then Barack, Hillary, and the Europeans killed him anyway? Trump says it's very simple.
I want to see no nuclear weapon in Iran, and we're well on our way to making sure that happens.
America can't let Iran acquire a nuclear weapon, or any other country. Americans can't get blackmailed by rogue states. And stopping the spread of nuclear weapons has been American policy since Oppenheimer made one. Trump originally put Netanyahu on ice and told him not to strike. But NBC reports Trump had a change of heart after the International Atomic Energy Agency said Iran was cheating. 47 didn't want to be the president on whose watch it was able to obtain a nuclear weapon. So the Pentagon started to quietly move resources to the region, deploying reconnaissance aircraft to conduct surveillance and provide intelligence to Israel. Moved anti-drone and anti-missile systems from Ukraine to the Middle East. A carrier strike group from the Pacific to the Eastern Mediterranean, and they're assisting Israel with refueling flights. We're helping Israel intercept Iranian strikes and defending American soldiers and assets in the region.
So you were closely coordinating with the U.S. throughout this process?
Look, we're fully coordinated, but understand that America, under President Trump, will make the decisions that are best for America. And that's the way it is. He understands that I, as the Prime Minister of Israel, the one and only Jewish state, must make the decisions that are important for the survival of my country, and he will do what is best for America. That is a relationship of mutual respect and mutual confidence.
Israel has its own agenda. They're looking out for their own interests. And sometimes those interests align with ours, and sometimes they don't. Israel isn't interested in talks with Iran. Netanyahu called the nuclear negotiations between Tehran and Washington fake. Trump disagrees. He'd rather negotiate a settlement than settle it with airstrikes. Israel wants regime change. Reports say Trump told Netanyahu no when they asked to assassinate Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei. Officials say, have the Iranians killed an American yet? No. Until they do, we're not even talking about going after the political leadership. Bibi says Iran tried to kill Trump.
These people who chant death to America, try to assassinate President Trump twice. Do you want these people to have nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them to your cities? Of course not.
Yeah.
So we're defending ourselves, but we're also defending the world.
You just said Iran tried to assassinate President Trump twice. Do you have intel that the assassination attempts on President Trump were directly from Iran?
Through proxies, yes. Through their
Trump say, I left instructions. I left instructions.
intel, yes, they want to kill him.
Whoa. Well, we know Iran tried to kill Trump, but we never knew Ruth and Crooks were Iranian proxies. Either Netanyahu just shared intelligence that hasn't been shared with the American people, or he's spinning. Remember, there's always propaganda when missiles are flying. And as critical as it is to prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon, we've seen the risks of regime change. What comes next is the question. Iran's a theocracy. You can take out the Ayatollah, but there's still 30,000 radical clerics. You can't kill them all. So who takes over after a decapitation strike? Someone even more dangerous? Does the country disintegrate into militia infighting? Do insurgents take over the oil sector? Do jihadists pour in from all over the world and force Iranian refugees to pour out? And then who takes them? Israel doesn't have to manage that chaos. That'll fall to the United States. We've overthrown Iranian leaders before. We installed the Shah, and he was a great ally against the Soviets and kept the oil flowing. But he was so unpopular, there was a revolution, and these fundamentalists took over. Their paramilitary groups laid siege to the region, and they started enriching uranium. It's who we're dealing with now. You never really know what happens after you topple a leader. You'd rather have ships sailing from Europe to the Indian Ocean without any trouble. So far, oil prices haven't spiked too much. Oil in the 60s, it's what's kept inflation at bay this year. Let's keep it that way. There's two key things to look for to tell you how this conflict's going to play out. If the Israelis start targeting Iranian oil refineries, that could tell you regime change could be next, because a domestic energy crisis will turn the streets against Iranian leadership. And also look for whether bunker busters will be used. Israel has them, but they don't go as deep as the American ones. And if the U.S. delivers them to Israel or uses them ourselves, that'll cripple the only card Iranians have left and could lead to the Iranians lashing out wildly in a last-ditch effort to preserve their power. Or it could force them to sign a settlement where they swear off enrichment. Or the settlement opens up their country for inspections so invasive that it makes it almost impossible for the regime to retain legitimacy and hurts their ability to control their own population, which is their main goal. At that point, you could have a revolution, or anything could happen. This is a fast-moving story. Trump just posted on Truth Social, everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. This country elected President Trump because they trust him as commander-in-chief more than they trusted Joe Biden, and much more than they would have trusted Kamala Harris. One of the reasons he won the Republican primary in 2016 was because he called the Iraq war dumb. But Trump has also shown his willingness to take strong and decisive action to eliminate foreign threats. So far, the risks to American soldiers have been minimal, and we hope it stays that way. Because if we can achieve a peaceful solution to the Iranian issue, the rest of the president's Mideast agenda falls into place. The Abraham Accords, low energy prices, free shipping lanes, and an AI market that relies on U.S. tech. We can then finally pivot to Asia and back here to the homeland to confront more immediate challenges.